Competitiveness and pride are two qualities of NBA players that, when they're in check, can often lead to greatness on the court. Steph's desire to be the greatest shooter ever led to 4 championships. LeBron's desire to be the GOAT led him to becoming the all-time scoring leader. Kobe's desire to be greater than MJ led him to becoming a legend. The ability to channel something potentially destructive into some of the highest forms of success is one of the important traits of an NBA superstar. Once the ball stops bouncing, however, is a challenge that awaits every NBA player. Nobody escapes Father Time, whether it's a short career lasting just a few years or a long career that spans 2 decades. Eventually, every player needs to come to grips with the reality that their NBA days are over. Some players have been able to successfully take that competitiveness and pride and channel it into something great, while others, not so much.
I take Middleton.
Oh,
I take Middleton right now. Right now, I take Chris Middleton right now.
Middleton over Giannis? Really? Did you really say that, Ryan? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of how a retired NBA superstar destroyed himself. Born in 1977 and growing up in Inglewood, California, Paul Pierce was like any other kid in LA. He loved the Lakers and hated the Celtics. That's actually where basketball began for Pierce. Watching the legendary showdowns between Magic and Bird in the 80s and watching those legendary Titans go back and forth, year after year, and displaying to the world what the highest levels of basketball looked like. He and his friends would spend hours and hours reenacting all the best plays of the Showtime Lakers, and surely enough, it became a dream of his to one day don the purple and gold. Oftentimes, as a kid at games, Pierce would even sneak past security workers to just get a glimpse of his favorite idols. Hours and hours and hours is the amount of time that Paul spent on the city courts honing his game. And although he was good, he soon found out that there was a clear difference between being good and being really good. For example, when he entered high school as a freshman, he was cut from the varsity team. That didn't stop Paul, though. In fact, that only fanned the flames in his heart. When the tough got going, Paul rose to the occasion. And after a whole lot of 5 a.m. practice sessions, Paul Pierce made the varsity team in his sophomore year. An opportunity here and an opportunity there, and Paul became a high school sensation. Then, in his senior year, he became the #1 high school prospect in all of California. His greatness didn't stop there, though. In college, Pierce led the 1997 Jayhawks to a 34-1 record, one of the greatest college runs in the history of NCAA basketball. And although they didn't win it all that year, it was clear Paul Pierce was the real deal, and the basketball world knew it. He was drafted into the NBA in 1998 with the Celtics' 10th overall pick, and just like that, although he did become the enemy of his childhood, he was on top of the world. His desire to be great still didn't stop, though. Paul Pierce's competitiveness and pride wanted more. He wanted to be it. The all-rookie first team, the all-star team, the all-NBA teams, Pierce quickly started gaining recognition in the highest-tiered basketball league in the world. And on March 13th of 2001, in a game against the defending champs, Pierce dropped 42 points, and it was there and then that Shaq pulled aside a reporter and told him this.
Write this down. Paul Pierce is the mother truth.
And just like that, the truth came to be. Going over his complete career achievements would take a whole video in and of itself, but some noticeable achievements he had over the course of his career includes giving Kobe Bryant the bitter taste of a finals defeat in 2008 and beating LeBron so bad in 2010 that he was forced to make the decision to team up with Wade and Bosh. There's no doubt about it, Paul Pierce is one of the greatest Celtics ever. Unfortunately, that's where things started going south for the one dubbed The Truth.
Chasing that farewell tour, they don't love you like that.
By 17, by 46, and Oakland.
You know, as a Kobe fan, and because of the rivalry between the Lakers and Celtics, I never liked Pierce. I was always rooting against him. Even when he went up against the Heatles, I always found myself rooting against him. But yet, because of what he accomplished, like most NBA fans, I still had to respect him. He was still Paul Pierce after all, one of the top 75 greatest players to ever lace him up. When the ball stopped bouncing for Pierce, though, as it eventually does for everybody, the narrative surrounding him started to change, and fast.
Paul, riddle me this. Who is the better NBA player?
That's easy. I can say that off the bat. That's me.
Don't backtrack. He's made all NBA first team twice. Paul hasn't done it. He made all NBA 8 times to your 4. He's made all defensive team 3 times to your 0.
Ooh, 0. That's rough.
He's won 1 scoring title. You weren't able to win the scoring title.
That's too bad.
He has 3 rings. You have 1 ring.
Ooh, 3 is bigger than 1.
That was the beginning of it. Paul had a great career. He's one of the greatest Celtics ever. But saying he had a better career than Dwayne Wade wasn't going to turn out well for him.
I want Iguodala.
It was one thing for the NBA media to say wild stuff, but for NBA legends, the Twitter world at the time completely blasted him for the take. And it was clear at this point, Pierce's competitiveness and pride carried over to his media career with ESPN, but this time around, he wasn't going to be able to shoot himself out of it. In fact, the more shots he took, the more he seemed to spiral down because, let me ask you a question. What's more embarrassing than saying something outrageous on ESPN? Getting fired by ESPN? You see, not too long afterwards, Pierce was at a buddy's house. They were just having a good time one evening, but the only thing was, Pierce decided to start an Instagram Live. At the time, he didn't think that IG Lives could be recorded and reposted. Paul Pierce actually went home that evening thinking no one had noticed and that it was just a regular Saturday night. But when he woke up the next day, he realized that all hell had broken loose. That little Instagram Live that he made the night before went viral for hundreds of thousands of views. His employer at the time, ESPN, didn't even ask him to make a public apology. They pretty much fired him on the spot. And his response to all this was then tweeted out by him saying, "I can't lose. Even when I lose, I'm winning." He's already had the money, so it's not like his ESPN salary really mattered for him, but he's Paul Pierce. He's the truth. He was LeBron's greatest rival, and yet here he was, tarnishing that image. To be honest, after that incident, I didn't really hear of Paul Pierce much again until the 2023 NBA Finals. Kevin Garnett has his own show called KG Certified, where he invited Pierce to come on to break down Game 5 with him and to just have a good time together. Well, little did Garnett know that disaster was about to strike. You see, when Paul Pierce arrived on the scene, he wasn't in the right frame of mind and even brought a friend whom he admitted that he had hired for the day. I can talk on and on about the whole situation, but here are some highlights of that video.
Let me post you up, you little mother. Yeah, nigga. Who you think you talking to? What happened? So chill. Hold on. Tell me later. Tell me later, P. Tell me later, P.
Does anyone know what P was trying to tell him? Regardless of it though, Pierce's post-NBA life is looking like a complete opposite of his NBA life. This was a man who sent Kobe home in the 2008 finals. This was a man who forced LeBron out of Cleveland into Miami. And now people were throwing things at him on live television like he's a casual bum. He went from the top of the world to, I wouldn't say rock bottom, but bottom of some sorts. Pierce eventually went on air to say the stuff he did wasn't wrong, but stupid. Is he finally turning a corner in his post-basketball career? Well, I hope so, but only time will tell. But if there's anything we can gather or take away from this story, it's 1, no matter how successful you may have gotten or how high you may have climbed, to always keep yourself grounded. And perhaps, even more importantly, 2, be careful on Instagram Live. I'm looking at you, Ja.